It's time to get inside the Giants Huddle.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
On Giants.com.
I like it.
And the Giants mobile app.
Boom, give me some juice.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's roll.
Welcome to the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. It's a Week 14 rapid reaction. My name is Madelyn, Burke, alongside the Super Bowl champion, Amani, Toomer. The Giants back at MetLife Stadium for Week 14, hosting the New Orleans Saints. The Saints coming away with the win. 14-11 is the final score, and this one ended in a way that was eventful, Amani. Graham Gano lines up for a 35-yard field goal attempt to potentially tie the game at 14 and force overtime, but it's blocked by Brian Brzee on a play very similar to the way the Giants blocked the field goal in Seattle earlier this season, and it wouldn't happen. The Giants would fall. 14-11 was the final score. A tough way to lose this one.
Yeah, it's a tough way to lose it, especially because there's so many young guys out there trying their hardest. They don't care about the record. They don't care about what's going on. This is their opportunity. You saw some people out there today that were playing their Super Bowl. They've been practicing for a year or two, like Trey Banks, who got the intercept. Trey Hawkins, who had the interception today, and the six pass defense is. I think he could care less. He wants to get out there and prove that he deserves to be in the NFL, and that's exactly what he did today with his play. I think we're going to start to see, some of the Joe Sheehan's picks that are not playing but are developing, and I think you're going to see a lot of players, if they come out with the energy that they have right now, you're going to start to see some of the fruit from these drafts, the last two drafts that are going to be blossoming and going to be showing the depth of this team for next year and years to come.
Well, and game reps are so important in developing young players, right? And, this is a very young team and a team right now that is banged up. At the beginning of the season, they had 5 captains. There's just one healthy player of those 5 captains, Casey Kreider. The rest are either injured or no longer on the roster. And when you look at the way that not just the captains, but the significant players that have fallen due to injury or whatnot throughout the season, it's given opportunity for these younger guys. And I mean, Amani, you as the Giants' all-time leading receiver, even you took a couple years to get into a flow and to build into that, right? I think sometimes in today's society, we expect this instant gratification. Okay, draft good player out of college, immediately better be a Pro Bowler. But sometimes it takes time to develop that. And as you mentioned with Trey Hawkins, the second-year player getting his first career interception today, you see that come along later in their time.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that I feel are over these next 4 weeks are going to emerge. They've been practicing, like I said, they've been trying to get in there. They've been waiting in the wings, and now they're going to get their opportunity. And I always tell people, be careful what you ask for, you might get it, because they're going to be out there and they're going to be tested to prove all the things that they've been talking to their buddies about and their parents about and all their agents about. I should be out there playing. Okay, now you're out there. Now let's see what you can do. And I think it's going to have a different type of energy. Like today, it was a different type of energy than it was over the last couple of weeks because you have young, hungry players out there, trying to prove themselves.
Right. Huddle up, get in here. If you're lined up here, you got to go over the middle with it to score.
Right. How do we make that happen?
I don't know.
But Citizens does.
Make sense of your money with Citizens, official bank of Eli Manning.
Young, hungry players. And let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. I mean, we mentioned Trey Hawkins. Not only does he get his first career interception, but it's the first interception for the Giants defense since week 1 when rookie Darius Muasau got a pick. It's the longest streak. It's week 14 right now. That's quite a long streak to have not a single takeaway in that regard. Then Brian Burns also gets a sack on Derek Carr. Carr is a quarterback who, that was just the 8th time this season he's been sacked. He's averaging fewer than 1 sack per game. So getting a sack on Carr is an accomplishment in itself, but also this is a Giants defense that at one point led the league in sacks, hadn't had one since week 10. So kind of ending that drought as well for Burns. But additionally, the run defense, the way that they were able to stifle Alvin Kamara and this run game from New Orleans without Dexter Lawrence, without Bobby Okereke. You've got Elijah Chapman kind of playing nose tackle. And with respect to Elijah Chapman, he's maybe a third of the size of Dexter Lawrence, and he was playing big in that position. So to his credit and to the credit of a lot of these young guys stepping up and trying to make the most of their opportunity, not just with the Giants, but in the National Football League, it did kind of provide a different spark and put the Giants in a position where they had a chance in this one.
Yeah, Garcia, Chapman, and Riley all played very well today. Burns and Thibodeau also. This defensive front, which is, like you said, is a little decimated, they came to perform, and they only gave up 92 yards rushing from the whole offense. Gave up 44 yards on 17 carries to Alvin Kamara. I think there's only 8 games this year he hasn't had 100 yards all-purpose. Today he came woefully short with only 35 yards receiving as well. But having one of the best backs, I think the best back in the league in Alvin Kamara, holding him under 2.6 yards per carry, to me, that's a win for this defense. And it shows that maybe they need to dig a little deeper into the lineup to see what they actually got in a lot of these young players.
Right, because sometimes nothing changes if nothing changes. Mm-hmm. And just the semblance of, okay, new personnel, new spark, a lot of eager young players trying to prove something, did prove something. There were a couple of moments, though, throughout this game that the Giants would want back. Quite a few. Mm-hmm. Penalties are a topic of conversation week in and week out. And in this situation, there's 10 points that were negated due to penalties. Amir Smith-Marset takes a punt return, 56 yards for a touchdown. They're celebrating in the end zone, and then you see the laundry on the field. Mm-hmm. It's called back because of a holding call on Stroman. Mm-hmm. Graham Gano kicks a field goal to make it a one-possession game. It's called back because of a late penalty on Kubas. And this type of penalty that not only is backing up the team, but also negating points and putting other success. This is a non-necessary issue. Mm. That is something that, yes, you have with a young team. You have when, you've got several guys who are being called up on the practice squad or having their first minutes of the season. But finding consistent discipline to avoid these penalties and avoid shooting yourselves in the foot, because again, that's 10 points that the Giants could have used in this one.
Yeah, it's 10 points. They had 12 penalties for 112 yards. That is like giving up the length of the field, and then you're starting on the 89, so it's 88. So this is not winning football. I mean, last week they had 98 yards in penalties. Just taking them down to half would have changed the entire focus of the game. Just give up 50 yards. Like the Saints, on the other hand, they are on the road. They only had 6 penalties for 40 yards. That's a dramatic difference in field position you're giving up to a team that's struggling just like you. But obviously they played it a little bit more close to the vest and found a way to pull it out there in the end, luckily, because they made a play on special teams that, by blocking that field goal at the end of the game. I've seen a lot of blocked field goals this year. Mm-hmm. It's very, very strange. I don't know what's going on, but, blocking field goals is not something that ordinarily happens as often as I see, with the frequency as I see this year.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there are so many trends in the NFL, right? Whether it's blocked field goals, missed field goals, kickers struggling in general this season, something's in the water right there. And it's unfortunate that that's how this one had to end, especially because the Giants were kind of mounting a comeback, right? They were down 14-3. And then, find a way, get in the end zone with the Tyrone Tracy touchdown. They make it a ball game. It's 14-11. They go for 2. They convert the 2-point conversion. Malik Neighbors is in. And, 2-point conversions are something we've seen the Giants struggling with so far this year, too. So the momentum is on their side. It seems like, though, we've seen this. We saw this last week as well against Dallas on Thanksgiving. The offense finds its rhythm and finds its spark late in the game and then just seems to run out of time as they're finally starting to hit a rhythm. What do you see, or is that a valid explanation there?
I have no idea why that happens. Maybe one of the things is when you're playing in the 2-minute offense, it's much more of a free-flowing. It's almost like basketball on turf. Everybody knows you're going to throw. Now it's all about getting open, spacing, timing, and hitting your. It's very simple to hit go through your reads. And for a quarterback, it really cleans up a lot of the things because a lot of the defense, because you line up in a certain formation, probably more wideouts. So you're spread out in terms of more wideouts on the field, and you're not able to do some of the disguises because there's just so many receivers out there, and the quick succession of plays prevents a lot of these dummy looks where they try to have a shell look and then they bring a safety down or rock a safety back or drop a defensive lineman. You just can't do all that stuff when you're so close in succession between plays.
If you want to know how to manage 2 minutes of crunch time football, I'm your man. But if you're wondering about a long-term financial plan, you should talk to Citizens. Hey, I can also talk lawn care.
I'd like to learn about a mowing routine.
Yes, I knew I could help. Make sense of your money with Citizens.
Well, and it makes sense, too. A 2-minute offense, you comparing it to like basketball on turf. It makes sense why Drew Lock is so good in that scenario. Drew Lock is a quarterback who wears a shooting sleeve on his throwing arm. He's a hooper. He loves basketball. He plays basketball. He thinks in that mindset. So, of course, we see him come alive in a scenario that is akin to that sport as well. Because Drew Lock does really kind of find another level, unlock another level in the 2-minute offense we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Thank you. You know, I'm just taking, you gave me the oop and I gave the jam right there. We loved it. But, you know, of course, it's a tough loss for the Giants, falling to 2-11. And they've got another tough one coming next week because they're back here at MetLife Stadium with the Baltimore Ravens coming to town. The Ravens, week 13, they lost to the Eagles. They're on a bye in week 14. But after the Eagles lost, Lamar Jackson's mother said to him, "Son, I want to see you run the ball more." Yeah. And when your mom is in your ear telling you need to run the ball more, and then you've got a whole bye week to think about it, he's going to be coming into MetLife Stadium already having a season that's looking like a third MVP campaign. He's going to be looking to run, and that combined with Derrick Henry and his stiff arms, this is going to be a challenge for the Giants' run defense, which we saw efforting pretty strong today against Alvin Kamara. But again, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry is a different level of a challenge.
Oh, it's a different level of challenge, absolutely, because the physicality and the big playability of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and then they have, you know, the different receivers that really, you know, Zay Flowers, I think he's very dynamic and explosive. They just have a lot of really solid players. And then you have the tight end, Mark Andrews is just, I mean, there's a lot to defend in this team. This team is very complete in terms of spread evenly, talent evenly throughout the whole position groups of the skill players with the Ravens, and their offensive line isn't bad as well. So, and then when you look in their defense, they do have a weakness in their pass defense, but as of late, they've been coming on playing a little bit better. But it's just one of those situations where you're going to have to raise your level of competition because they are one of the top teams in the AFC. You know, they can beat anybody and they can get beat by anybody. You know, they lose Cleveland Browns and then they blow out the Rams. I mean, the Chargers. So this team. They're very dangerous because you don't always know what you're going to get. And I feel like the Giants have an opportunity to compete and see these young players playing against the NFL's best. And you're going to really see what you got in a lot of these young guys. And we're going to see, you know, all these Dabo draft picks and all this stuff. I want them to go out there and shine and show that, you know, that we're going in the Dabo and Shan, that they're going in the right direction. And you know, get some stability around here and get some, you know, get this program turned around.
Absolutely. And it starts one game at a time, 1 week at a time. We're back next week as the Giants host the Ravens, week 15. But that's a wrap for week 14 Rapid Reaction on the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Football Giants. For the Super Bowl champion, Amani, Toomer, I'm Madelyn Burke. We'll see you next time.